Welcome to our December Technology Integration Lead Educator Meeting. Really great to see you all here today. We are going to kick things off the same way that we usually do. First off is a welcome from me. I'm Matthew Mays, the technology curriculum consultant from the Stark County Educational Service Center, as well as a whole bunch of other things. But if you want to connect with me outside of this, you can find me on Twitter at @IamMays. You can also find me on Mastodon, which is this new thing. I'll talk a little bit about that later on in our meeting. So same handle and all that kind of stuff. You can check me out. As always, we have the same goals. Goal 1, we're here to share our best practices. Goal 2, we really want to share those awesome resources back and forth. And then ultimately, doing those two things will help us with goal 3, which is to lead Stark County in Northeast Ohio. If you haven't done so yet, make sure that you're logging your attendance. You can either do it with that link or you can shout that QR code there, and that will take you to the same place. We have 4 meetings throughout this school year, the first of which is already done, the second of which we are currently in, and we have 2 more for this school year. So we have one on February 8th and another one on April 12th, and that will round out our year. So lots to do in between that time. I know that February meeting is going to be just before OETC if you're interested in going to that. They have been really making a push here in the last couple of weeks to try and get as many people, registered as presenters. They weren't really sure if they were going to have an OETC this year, but they are kind of flying the plane as they're building it, so to speak. And so if any of you are interested in presenting or want to partner up on a presentation to present there at OETC, let me know. I'd be happy to do that. Like I said, it's a super fun conference. It's in Columbus. It's really a fun couple of days. So if you're interested in that, let me know. Okay, who should attend these meetings? All of you, of course, as well as any other teachers that you're working with who might enjoy technology or might be looking for new things. Administrators, we'd love to have them. People who are savvy, people who are unskilled, doesn't matter to me. We are happy to have any and everyone. So consider bringing a friend for our February meeting. All right. As always, the first thing we're going to start with here is our group share and our problems of practice. So that's broken down into 3 different sections. We're going to share a tool. We're going to ask our questions and then bounce ideas off of other people who are in our call today. But before we do, just one more quick shout out here. These are links that are shared through Spark. If you remember from previous meetings, I kind of have 1 foot in Spark and 1 foot in the ESC, doing a little bit of everything there. So Eric Kurtz and I, when we find cool things that are around the interwebs, then we place them into one of these 4 areas if we think that it helps those content areas. So definitely make sure that you are checking those out, share them with your friends. This is, consistently updated every month, and you will always be able to find something really great. These documents are seemingly never ending, so they're a great place to share and explore and try and find some new things. Like I said, you can go back, months ago and find all kinds of good things. Okay, so we will just start it off with something fun. Anybody going anywhere fun or have any good plans for Christmas break? As we move into our next area, we are talking share a tool. So I have lots of things that we'll talk about after these sections, but I did want to put in 2 different places for you. Christine, if you haven't had a chance yet, make sure that you click on the slide deck that I just dropped into the chat. That way you can get all the links that you need. There are 2 different things that I wanted to share, kind of tech tools for engagement. The first of which is the best strategies for learning through conversation. So this is something that I've actually bookmarked and that I consistently refer back to because as you all know, in these meetings, I just want to do what's best for kids. And a lot of times that doesn't involve technology, and that's okay. So, as we think about how much time our kids have spent on devices, throughout the last couple years, it's really important that we bring them back for real life in-person conversations. This can be, student to student. This can be that, teacher to student interaction, but it's really important that we bring them back and help them learn how to have conversations with real people where screens aren't involved. So if you check out that link, Learning Through Conversation, they get into the whys quite a bit, and then they really break it down by strategy. So this is a great place to come. This isn't like an end all be all, meaning like, oh, I just read, the thing and do what it tells me to do, but it's a great place to infuse new life into a lesson. So, if a teacher's already doing something wonderful, but there's a 5-minute, 10-minute window within a lesson, and they're like, wow, I need to supercharge it with something. This website would be a great place that you can send them to find one of these strategies to try and infuse into their classroom teaching. So like I said, just somewhere that I know I have not mentioned before, but I wanted to throw a shout out to that one for you. And then newer event, if you haven't seen it yet, the EdTech Links of the Week is like an internet show. I don't know how else to describe it. It's a YouTube show, I guess we could say, from my buddy Eric. And every Monday night, he goes on and talks about some new things that have come across his desk in the previous week. So you can see there's some really good things that have come about already. And this is another one of those like seemingly never ending documents. Like you can scroll down and find lots of really, really, really good things. So definitely wanted to shout that out. He records those as well, so you don't have to worry about trying to catch it on Monday night. Cause I know, like for me, like I'm a Tuesday morning watcher because I know I can't get away, from the kids running around the house. So definitely check that out. There's always really good links that he is sharing through there. And then the last thing that I wanted to share before I kick it out to you to input your own items is this app here. It's called Gas. Is anybody familiar with Gas? No? Okay. Well, it's not like, do you have it and like everybody runs away from you. It's really weird. So Gas is a new app that has actually overtaken TikTok and all of the other crazy social media things that are out there at the moment. It's #1 in the App Store, and I guarantee there are kids in your school that are on it. So the idea, and this article gets into it a little bit more, but the idea behind it is that kids post questions and then they basically, put up answer possibilities. Now, the questions are such that they're like, think like the superlatives that used to be in like yearbooks. So it would be like, who's the most athletic? And then it gives like 4 possibilities, right? So there's all kinds of crazy questions. From what I can tell at the moment, you can only pull in questions from like their question bank. But I think there's still flexibility within that, if that makes sense. So there are opportunities to personalize it in such a way that it can be used as like a tool to exclude kids or to call kids out for different things. Every article I've seen is like, oh, this is finally a positive internet community. It's a great place to be, but I'm always skeptical. And hopefully you are as well when it comes to things online. And so I don't know what to tell you. I just want you to know that it's out there and to monitor, what's happening with the kids that are on it. Like I said, it seems very yearbooky, but I could definitely see an opportunity to try and customize it in such a way that it would seem like, it could get into like that bullying territory, which nobody really wants. So definitely keep an eye out for that. Okay. Let's see. Caitlin says that there's also an app called Beano.
That was a joke.
Oh, because it's the gas. I gotcha. Oh man, I read it as if it were a real thing. Oh man, I'm like Ron Burgundy. If you put it in the thing, I'll just read it without checking it over first. So, okay, that's great. You got me. Thank you. Does anyone else have anything that they want to share, a new tool that has come across their desk since our previous meeting that you'd like to share here with the group? Can be anything. Can be this really cool website, can be this very average website that I thought was interesting, can be a tool that you're using in your classroom, could be a tool that a friend is using, can be literally anything. We can add it here to our list.
I've been using Book Creator, which it's probably come up before. It's a very robust app you can access it on Chromebook and on iPad. But we have it in our district. We have it paid for our district. I think there's a free version that you can get, one library and 40 books per teacher, and you can have your class do it. But I didn't try it until our district paid for it because I have 400 students. So I didn't want it. I was not going to touch it unless everyone could have their own book, because collaboration with kindergarten is hard on tech.
Yes. I don't blame you.
I went into a first grade classroom today, and the one first grader who is not super into technology, but she was wearing a little bracelet she made, and it said Book Creator on it. She goes, "This is my favorite app." And I was like, "Oh, that's wonderful," because she doesn't like things like reading. So the fact that she likes creating books is really good.
Very cool. Would you mind talking a little bit about how you're using it or how it works?
Actually, hold on. Let me see. I can share a link.
Yeah, please.
Well, and that's the thing is, like I said, it's been bumper. I've had bumpers in the bowling alley for this because I have been hesitant to use it. I'm figuring out kind of by struggling as I go with it. I kind of learned that it helps to chunk it with my kids. I teach kindergarten and first grade mostly. So it is very robust, and it's to the point of being overwhelming. So you gotta, so I chose to start with, I created a coloring book, and then I shared it out to the students, and I got them all logged in and signed up. And then they copied my coloring book so that we would only focus on using the pen tool and the artistic illustration tool.
Sure.
There's a lot more than that, but that was a starting point for 40 minutes out of a week, 2 weeks,
Yep, absolutely. Especially with kindergartners who typing is always going to be an issue with, students that young.
And you can record video, you can record voice, but the classroom management is, I teach on a cart, so I heavily rely on other people's classroom management. I don't have my own room that I can control noise levels as well. And I also created, to help out our music teacher, I created this, I put the link in the chat. This is the holiday song book so that the kids can check, and I put the link out to the kids so they can follow along with videos and read the lyrics, or have the lyrics read to them, do it together, do it separately. So you can use it to create, so even more so than maybe even kids using it, I can use it to create resources to then share out to the kids. You can add YouTube in it, which I have mixed feelings about, but it gives me a reason to teach the kids, when you click on this, make sure you X out and don't click on a suggested video and end up down that rabbit hole. So you still have to be kind of on top of it.
Sure. And I would imagine that's probably a district setting also, right? So a district would have to...
My understanding is that used to be something you could do, and YouTube took away that functionality.
Gotcha.
So I'm going to keep an eye out and see how else I can manage it. But right now, communicating proactively with the kids really does help. Because at least when they're I might make this mistake, I'll raise my hand and ask for help if I don't know what to do. So.
Right. Very cool. I can say I think that songbook is wonderful. But
the first one.
Yeah, that's very cool. And are you singing along to all the songs, or is that the music teacher?
No, it's me. I'm not good. I made kids sing with me because I can't sing on my own and keep the tune. Really
See, but how fun is that you can, put that out there for the kids and say, I'm just putting this out there to, help everybody. It may not be
the Book Creator that I said, this is my top secret project. And I didn't make anyone help. I asked for volunteers, and then, and they weren't all equally good quality either.
Yeah, that's okay. But you are offering it up to the kids to
And the
say,
audience is just our own school. So this is the first time I've shared it with someone outside of the school. So
yeah, very cool. But you're putting yourself out there. You're showing the kids, like, I mean, I think the sound of my voice sounds super weird when I go back through and edit these videos. I'm like, oh, that's not what I sound like at all. But that's absolutely what I sound like. So, breaking down that wall. This is something for other teachers as well. Like, we don't like recording ourselves. We notice all of our idiosyncrasies and whatnot, but being able to break that down,
and it can read to you if you have the text in, but it reads like a robot. Rudolph the red-nosed reindeer had a very shiny nose. It can't do music, so.
Yeah. Well, that's very cool. I appreciate you sharing about Book Creator. Is anyone else using Book Creator? No? All right, cool. It's a very good one. Like you said, there's, Caitlin pointed out, there's that free version that's out there. I know a lot of people are using the pay version too. So all good things.
One thing I like about it is when you do image searches, it only scrapes from things that you would have copyright.
Cool, like a safe search, basically.
Right, and it's safe search and it's like, so if you search like Minecraft, it won't necessarily pull screenshots and stuff that have like that you're not allowed to use. It will pull things that the kids actually. So it's copyright friendly, which when you're going to share and publish, I think that's a way to cover your own.
Yep.
But yeah,
absolutely. Well, very cool. Thank you for sharing. Anybody else have anything that they would like to share? Anything that they've seen come across in the last couple weeks? Like I said, it doesn't have to be earth shattering. It can be anything.
With this being my first year, this is like code week, so hour of code week. So I've been trying it and it's going really, really well. I'm super excited. The kids are super excited about it. I don't know if the previous teacher ever did hour of code, but the kids are really, really involved with it. Just because I had never done it before, I pretty much just picked one game to do with like 2 through 5. And then I did another game with K1, and all of them are really excited about it.
Cool. So, can I ask which ones or which platforms you're using?
The one I found, it's for the 2 through 5, it was Grinch Hour of Code. So it's really cool. So it's the Grinch, like the Illumination one, and then it's them, like they have to code and get the presents, and then they code the sleigh, and like it is. The kids are really all the way from 2 to 5, like all of them enjoy it. So it was grinchhourofcode.com. And then the other one was just through code.org. And it was the Code Monkey. And first and kindergarten are doing that, and they're doing really well with it too. So cool. At first I was a little apprehensive because I feel like, and I'm sure Kaylin can attest to this, like kindergartners and first graders, I'm still like getting them to even press the right things and touch the right things on the computer. But I was just like, you know what, just to get them introduced to it. And if it blows up in my face, it blows up in my face. But, to say a kindergartner is coding, I think that's pretty awesome. So, yes. But they're doing really, really well with it. So I'm pretty excited.
Good. Well, and it looks like, I'll pop it up here just so everybody can see. It looks as if it's all block-based, which is really important. That's like a gateway drug to little kid coding. Is treating it like a puzzle, treating it as if we want to move this piece in because we want him to do this and this, and then are we turning right or returning left? Like, think about where you are on the board, right? There's a lot of really good conversations that can come from that.
Yeah. Especially even with this second graders, like some of them learning what's the difference between left and right, and because it says move right, move left, and I'm like, put your hands out, and so
sometimes isn't it based on like the character's point of view,
orientation,
point of view?
Yeah,
it's kind of that's something that's really hard with the little kids because of that whole object permanence thing. The older they get, the more they're like, wait a second, yes, if I think about it from somebody else's point of view, it's pretty cool.
Yes. Yeah. That's super cool. And so we refer to that as the Despicable Grinch movie because it's basically just Despicable Me. But in Grinch form, that was my big takeaway from it. I was like, oh, got it. Like I see what's happening here.
Yeah.
But it doesn't make it any less fun. Our daughter loves it. But he's the Despicable Grinch. But that's super cool. I'm glad that's working out for you. That was always one of my favorite things back when I, had my own classroom of kids. I had a whole slew of things like, hey, if you finish this assignment, this is where I want you to go. And some of the kids would just mow through their work so that they could really, take their time and be immersed in that hour of code. So really, really cool. I'm glad that you're trying that out, especially, here in your first year too. That's a really good challenge. And there's tons and tons of places that if kids are interested and they want to learn more, like you said, like on code.org, they could spend hours and hours and months, on their working. And then there's like legitimate, like coding courses that you can take through like Code Academy also, which is really fun.
Okay.
So lots of really
I definitely know, like my fifth graders today, like they're a little bit of an advanced group. And so I gave them the option of doing the Grinch or picking one from code.org. And I was trying to I'm like, some of them you can't really get into because you have to like sign up for it and stuff. But like some of them tried to do that, the dance party one. And they were like, that one was a little bit more advanced, but some of them were really getting it. And then the one girl on the way out was like, I think I'm going to do this at home. This was a lot of fun. And I'm like, yes, chalk it up for the day. Let me leave. So
Listen, I've made my difference in one child. Life is good. Ready to move on. Yep, that's wonderful. That's wonderful. When I had my class, I had sixth graders and seventh graders, and fifth graders and sixth graders. I also taught seventh grade, but that was different. My fifth graders, I would give them mostly block based, and then my sixth graders, toward the end of our time, I would start to do like actual, just so that they could see like, as you're typing, you just start firing away and you have misspellings and you're not putting punctuation in and all that. But like, if you want to be a coder, all of those things matter. So like putting a period in the right place, jumping to a new line and, having colons and slashes and all of these things that, spell check helps us out with. That's not how it works in coding. Yeah. There's a big difference if there's a space where it shouldn't be. Your code is not going to work. And so like I always enjoyed letting them struggle through that. Like that's a really important lesson to learn, especially if kids are interested in going on through coding. So really, really cool. I'm glad that you shared that. I'm glad that it's working out and you're having fun with it here for your first year. Anybody else have anything fun? Barbara,
well, I was going to say, Christina, I'm sixth and seventh grade. I'm sixth grade technology resources, what we call the course that they take and for the first semester. And then I have seventh graders. I use Hour of Code all the time with sixth and seventh. I just looked at the Grinch one because I'm like, my sixth graders would probably like that because our sixth grade Christmas theme decoration hall is the Grinch. So I thought, I don't know, do you think it'll be too easy for them? I'm going to take a look at it, but
the first couple rounds are kind of easy, but especially, for my kids, I've never coded before, so it gave them like a base. But the last couple like rounds, the lessons or whatever, like 5 through 20, like they can get pretty interesting. And so but it's just a way for that. I like that problem solving part of it and like the logic thinking. So.
And it's timely because, kids are watching this movie, in the next couple weeks. And if this is something that they're interested in, you would hope that they could then take it back to, their free time over break and, explore other games, or experiences on there too. So yeah, it's a really nice gateway. I think code.org more than anybody has those partnerships with like all the Disney characters and, the princesses and, all those that, kids might be interested in.
Yeah, the students love code.org. That's like their extra when they finish. They always have like, I give an assignment and then you have 2 weeks to finish. So I'm not really teaching the code so much to them. They're muddling through it and working together when they have extra time for that. I use for the first time this year, and I'm sure you probably have heard of it, as Storyboard. And Storyboard is a great way to for the kids to take and make little, their characters, what they want, put a background in. So we did a whole big thing on cyberbullying and We had our resource officers come in and talk about cyberbullying, internet safety, and just general safety in general with kids our age as teenagers. And then we ended up with Storyboard they had to create a cyberbullying comic. So we used it to create a comic. So you had to have your bystander, your upstander, your target, your bully. And then they turned out really good. I don't have a sample because I'm not on my school account here
That's
at
okay.
home, but it turned out really cute as far as them putting their characters in. And they had to, of course, resolve it with, like I said, for you guys, you could use superhero, but a superhero idea comes in and, upstander, fix the problems. It makes them think about the ways that they could fix what's going on. And a lot of them chose at 6th grade level samples that are actually out there that they're seeing online for cyberbullying and all that social media that they're dealing with right now, because there's quite a bit at 6th grade. It's already starting. So, but they had a lot of fun with it. They had fun with Storyboard and creating things. The other one that's kind of fun to use too is Pixtoon, Pixton. Have you guys ever heard of that one? That's another one that you can create stuff with that they like to use too. Seems like this year though, it's almost like it's a paid version totally, because when I went in to use it, there was nothing for them to use for free. Like they couldn't. Before last year we used the free version, and this year there was no option really for that when I looked at it. So those are a couple things but yeah.
Is that the one you're thinking?
And it is a lot of fun because they do your class on there, and so then you can change
you can include your students with it.
Yes.
I know a lot of special ed teachers who've used it to help create social stories with like featuring their own kids, like when their kids have social challenges, like this is how we share, like, and it's the actual classmates.
Yeah. So they're going to make their little bit emoji. It's kind of cool, you know what I mean, for themselves that represent them. And then they can, again, they're pulling in like backgrounds and creating whatever they want with the storyline or whatever assignment you might give it with them. I think they're kind of cool, the storyboards and stuff, because like I think language arts, like you could have the kids do a summary or something of a chapter or, or whatever it might be, and they could do it in the form of these cartoon stuff, which most kids get into and like. So I know our social studies teacher does cartoons when he does it with one of his areas, but they always have to draw and stuff. And I know when I do it with using these tools, the kids like doing that better than drawing and coloring on paper. So.
Hey, Barb, can I ask you a question for that first one that you were talking about? Is it Storyboard that, or is it a place called Storyboard?
It's Storyboard. Well, let me look here. I'm going to search here for a second.
Oh, I think I may have just found it. No, this one's about podcasting.
Oh, hold on. Of course, I have it on my school.
Yeah, that's okay. I can say you don't need to do that now. If you just shoot me an email after, I can add it to the agenda. That way, anybody else who may be interested in it could grab it. I just want to make sure that I grab the right one for you.
Yeah.
So, okay, very cool. This is so much fun. Like I said, I am so glad that, compared to last year, we've shifted these kinds of conversations to the front, because this is where I want to spend, the bulk of our time. So I really appreciate you all sharing. As we look to our next question, is anyone trying something new and have questions, or come across something in their classroom and, want to ask questions of the others that are currently in our call?
Does anyone know of a good translation app for helping an ESL student? Like, we have extra iPads. I can download an app to specifically English to Arabic and back again. Or is there a good Google Chrome extension? Maybe he could use his Chromebook.
I was going to say, we have a Spanish speaking. She's a 6th grader. We use right now, and it's not always accurate. We just go to Google Translate. It's been pretty, we can communicate back and forth with that, but it's not always accurate. That's the only one that I've kind of been using right now. And
I've been using it. My understanding is Spanish there's a difference between Spain Spanish and Mexico Spanish, and Arabic is apparently very similar. So I don't know how to tell the difference.
Right.
So I just.
Yeah, it's like regional or dialectic
Right.
makes it much
Saudi
different.
Arabian is different than Egyptian dialects. So, or like any other resources, because we've got also like the packet of flip through and show the like the clip art picture of it, just so he can point if he needs to use the restroom or if he needs to.
So,
yeah.
So I just heard something that you said. We have a ESL, EL consultant on our team, and I'll reach out to her to see what other districts are using like that are best, and then I'll reach back out to you, Caitlin, specifically. But
in the meantime, I'm borrowing my sister's old textbook.
And I know that one thing that Dana is really big on is like I heard you say like clip art stuff. One of the things that she is really big on, yes, is like actual photos. So instead of it being like, you know, a cartoon pen, like we want a real picture of a pen instead of like
maybe a backpack specifically instead of just a generic backpack.
Yes.
Like it's time to back up type stuff.
Right. Because if you think about it, their brain is already trying to process like, I'm hearing this word that I don't recognize. I say it this way, you say it this way. And then at the same time, if it's, well, I see this cartoon thing. What's this cartoon thing? I know it to look like this, but they're telling me it looks like that. Okay. Now they're essentially, their brain is trying to do two things at once when it's already a really challenging thing to begin with, is, you know, to figure out, you know, what words I need to say to communicate with these people who are using, you know, a different language. So
something that we could even have multiple people work on and collaborate on is people taking pictures of things, and maybe even we could turn that in. Yeah, that could be we could make that work.
Yeah, I've tried to be more mindful of that as like I'm making websites and whatnot.
Like since that we made the cards before we met him and before, so we didn't.
I was just thinking. Oh, sorry.
Go ahead.
I was thinking about your book creator because I've used book creator before too, and like how you can put those little sound bites beside pictures, and then so you put the English sound bite for book bag, and then you have that student record their saying of book
so
bag.
And it could almost be like a conversation, like that way it could help us learn to recognize the Arabic words he might use.
Yeah, and you might have more of a streamline. I know it'd be a slow process, but there's certain things like lunchroom or the essentials for the school.
Right, and I could use my sister's textbook as a map for that.
Yeah,
that she's sending it to me because it's got a whole unit on school phrases.
Yeah, that's a wonderful idea.
It's a great idea because that would be easier than printing. Because oh my gosh, I'm going to go crazy from printing everything out. Is everyone else having the same shortage we are?
I think just knowing some of the other groups that I'm a part of, you're not the only one.
So it's not just because I was like, is it just our company that's making an excuse, or is it really like nationwide?
No, I think it is a thing. So I don't think it's an exclusive thing for you. Sorry, I know.
Almost related to the book. I wonder if there's any good like nursery rhymes or children's songs in Arabic that maybe some of the kids could learn, so that like a back and forth type of thing. So I wonder if
that's a great idea.
Any resources like that to kind of just increase the back and forth type of.
Yes, for sure. And I know like I have several things on the backside, but I don't know how helpful it will be. Like, so a lot of the things that I've created, Google Sheets actually has a like translation tool. If essentially what I have set up, and I'm not going to take your time to try and find it real quick, I'll just send it to you after. Essentially, it's like 3 columns. So I use it primarily for people who need help during like conferences. And so, you know, on this side of our on like, so think like A, B, C. In the A column, we have it for, you know, an English translation. In, you know, the C column, in this example, we would set it up for Arabic. And then down the center is where we are going to, you know, type whatever it is. So the idea is, you know, what if there are other people, you know, who, you know, we're trying to translate it into 2 other non-English languages, right? I can just type down the center and pew, pew, it starts firing away on all those other ones. So the idea is we could put a, Barb, absolutely, I'll send that to you. And I'll include it here in this ask a question area also, just so that way anybody else outside can access this too if you're watching the recording later. But we would then set up, computers for, whoever that may be. They can type in their native language, no matter who they may be. And we then can read in those, in the language that best suits us to then have those conversations. So not perfect by any means, because like you said, like a lot of times some of, our languages, even English, can be dialectic and vary by region. But at least it's a starting point, which is good too. And
that's because if it's too overwhelming, then it's got to be something you're actually going to use and keep using.
Yes, and like I said, this is
use spreadsheets, so that's not as intimidating as some things can be.
Right, and it's super streamlined. Like there's no extra. Like it's literally boxes. You just type in the box. When you're done with this one, the person will reply. You jump to the next one, the person will reply, and it's very streamlined. So I'm just making a note for that, so that way I make sure to do that for you. Okay. And yeah, Troy hit on really great idea there to use that book creator, especially if it's something that your district is already paying for. You can create a little custom workbook for that student. That would be top notch. Top notch.
Yeah, we could try that. And that also seems like something that I could also because it's web based. I could share it to have somebody proofread it and check it, because I would need. I don't know enough of it to know if I've made a mistake. So that would be very helpful.
Right.
All right. Thank you.
Very cool. Anyone else have any other questions that they want to post to the group?
I just kind of want to throw out there, I know I'm middle school. I don't know what Troy is, but I just was kind of curious, what are you using for your high quality student data for evaluation purposes?
This year I know it's with me being new and things like that. They have me using because everybody's a reading teacher. I'm using our STAR data, and I picked a group and picked a grade, and I'm going to focus on that. But I was able to use the STAR data because it's already there, and I know how to use it and things like that. And then the other one was, I haven't actually started using it. I was supposed to have someone come and help me get it set up, but we haven't. It's standards checklist. We had someone come and create these standards checklists or teach our instructional coaches how to use them. And then they were supposed to kind of branch out and show us. But with me being the only one doing this, I think I'm kind of low on the totem pole of getting help with things, but it's fine. So, that's the other one that I had used was standard checklist, and then kind of using that to check off the standards that I'm doing and going through. So I don't know much about that one, but that's the one I have on my sheet.
I think this is what you're looking for from us, but so my job, I work with all K through 12, and we use the state test readiness assessments. I don't know if you guys use those or not. And then, of course, we use MAP too.
I mean, ultimately, the real problem with this is, and why I'm so glad that you are all here, is that in your district, it's very likely that you're a one of one or one of very few. And so finding something that is representative of what you do can be really challenging. I know that some of our other groups have had that HQSD conversation. So I'll reach out to some of my other consultant friends in the office and see, are there comparable things that you could bring in to, at least have something similar, to other content areas that may not have that official state test. And then I'll make sure to get back with you on that, Barb.
I know our art teacher is using portfolios. I know that could potentially be something that we could all use too. I just wasn't really ready to jump into that with my first year, but I think if you already have like a list, like sets of things that you're doing, it could be a Google site, a Google Drive, something like that, a folder, and have everything in there. I think that would probably be pretty easy too.
Yeah, like a practical application of, the things that you've been doing, or a practical snapshot. I think that makes sense. Yep.
Practical snapshot. Nice phrasing. Fancy.
Anyone else have any other questions? I know that wasn't necessarily a hard answer for you, Barb, but like I said, I'll continue that investigation for you and see what I can find.
One of the things I was going to bring up too that I use, I couldn't say this while I was on the treadmill, so I'm off now. So, but it's something called Scribed. I don't know if you've used that before or anybody's used that. But when you're trying to create directions on, like, maybe even like for me, I have to teach the parents how to log in and see student grades and that kind of thing. What it does is it takes a movie of all the different websites that you go to and where you click, and then it creates a like a PDF or an HTML of all those steps, and highlights everything that you click on, then allows you to go back and edit and put in little descriptions like, put your username in here. It is so sweet.
How is that spelled?
I think it's Scribe or Scribed. I can check it out once I get off, my phone and put an email to Matt. But it's either Scribe or Scribed. It's a Chrome app. It is super slick though. If you've ever made like those little tutorials for people with all the screenshots, it takes all the screenshots for you.
Blocked by admin here. Oh, you can't see now the Chromebooks.
Oh,
that's okay.
That's
So
okay. I can figure this out maybe.
Yeah. So my guess is you could probably ask this to be whitelisted for your.
There's also a student Chromebook. I could probably look at it on the grown-up version in a little while.
it really helps those people who, like, I've made movies in the past to show people how to do things, those little Loom videos and stuff. But I find that people like paperwork too. So this comes out as a paper and they can follow along step by step.
I find people will watch a video once, but they're more likely to, if they get stuck on a step, they're not going to go back to the video and find the spot in the video.
Right.
They're more likely to go back if it's like a document and find where they got stuck and just get unstuck there.
Yeah. So then what we do is we take those documents then, and I don't know, I can send you this link too, but I created this has made my life so much easier, but I took a Google Sheet and made what's called a PD landing page. And so on that Google Sheet, there are buttons that go out to, for example, if that was how to access your grades online, then that button takes you to that Scribed. And that has prevented so many questions for me. It's been like a lifesaver. And it's just one Google Sheet, and you can change access to all the documents in there.
Heart star and everything.
Which this is very, very cool. It reminds me of IORAD, which is another tool that I know we've talked about in the past. But what's different is I like that it creates just that singular document. That I think is what sets it apart. It makes it more bite size or more streamlined, I think, for people.
Is it in case you accidentally show student data?
So yeah, you can be really careful to I've used Loom Screencastify to go through and block out things like that. But what you could do is if you got it as a PDF, even if you were using real student data or something like that, and you got the PDF later, you could take that PDF and just block that stuff out, scan it to a PDF. You know what I mean?
Mm-hmm. And remember also from our previous meeting, we were talking about TinyWow. So you can always bust that PDF, put it into a Google Doc, and then, put shapes over it, to create that blur, to do all kinds of different good things.
I forgot about TinyWow.
Yeah. Don't forget about it. Don't sleep on TinyWow. You got to bookmark it.
Tiny.
I'm going to have to go back and check that out. That sounds pretty cool.
Yeah. I mean, it's tinywow.com. I can't remember what they're up to now. 120 some odd, little mini tools in one place. So, here, I'll pull
They're
it up.
free, I think.
Yeah, totally free, and they delete your data 15 minutes after your project is done. So
yeah, not exactly, no, but still.
What's that, Caitlin? I missed the first part.
I said it's like Snapchat, because Snapchat will delete your videos after they've been watched, unless but you can't just goof. You got to be careful.
Yeah. So this breaks it down into a bunch of different categories. If you haven't seen this one yet, Troy, where you can, go across the top and, find the most used. But like I said, it's one place that, has all the little mini tools that, like, this website that does this thing, and that website that does that thing.
Oh, that's great.
This one does it all. And like I said, they're really nice little tools that will take care of just about everything for you.
Sounds great. That's tomorrow's thing for me then.
There you go. There you go.
So I'm assuming, is this completely free? There's no cost involved?
Yes.
Okay.
Tiny Wow is completely free.
The tiny child came to talk.
Yes, I see her. Tiny Wow would talk with a tiny child.
My cat's not here to say hi back.
Yeah, that's okay.
I shared the Tiny Wow with our yearbook person, and so a lot of times they're like, send us pictures, and like when you send the pictures, especially from an iPhone, they're in that
HEIC.
Yes, and like you can't upload that to LifeTouch or anything like that for the yearbook. So I showed her that, and she's like, "Oh my gosh, this is going to save me hundreds of hours," because she could just download them there and change them to JPEGs or whatever she needs them. So she was super excited about that.
Yes, that I think is my most frequently used tool on Tiny Wow. And
What's
then
the name of that tool?
It's like you would type in up in the search bar area HEIC to JPG or to PNG, whatever file type they need. Because when
share that with somebody.
Yeah, when you take most of the time when you take photos on an iPhone, that's the file type that they will transfer into. Like if you were to put them in your Google Drive or whatever. And so, like Christina was saying, like most places won't accept that HEIC. They need that JPEG. They need the PNG. And so you have to go through and convert them all. And previously it was a slog and terrible. And luckily there are good tools, including the one that's out there for Tiny Wow to make that transfer. So yeah, very, very cool. All right. Sorry about that break. Any other questions? Any other things happening? I popped that over here, the screen capture tool. So if you're watching this later, or for all of you who are in the call now, that's the tool that Troy shared. So I wanted to make sure that was reflected there as well. Any other questions before we jump to our next section? Like I said, this is wonderful. I'm so glad that we spend, the bulk of our time here, doing these things. It's the best. I know this is borrowed a little bit from like the share tool or the ask a question, but anybody trying to do some new things or have any ideas that you want to bounce off of our friends in the group? Okay, I know we covered that a little bit. What I did want to point out was this post here from the trainers group that I'm a part of, so the Google trainers group. And I'm pretty sure you can see the speaker notes down there in the bottom too. Let me yank this on up. Basically, this, again, I know that a lot of people are using Edpuzzle. Basically, this teacher identified a way that students were accessing YouTube videos when they thought that they had things locked down. Edpuzzle basically had no restrictions on students basically faking their way to be teachers. So to have those teacher accounts, which then kind of opens up all the teacher tools, including, watching YouTube videos and whatnot too. So our kids will always find a way. That's half the fun of teaching, and how we know that we will always have jobs. So that's the I always call it the Jurassic Park principle. And then they say, like, well, nature finds a way. That's what this is. This is an example of that. So I just wanted to throw that out there to you. Just know that that's a thing. So that person offered up some suggestions on how you might be able to work around that. Okay. I have a couple other things that I wanted to share with you. So our Q&A area, that's the best. I really appreciate you all sharing and being so open to sharing during that time. That is what makes these meetings special. So thank you so much for being a part of that. I have just a couple other things that I wanted to share with you. The first of which, a friend of mine in the Columbus area and we presented on some safe social media experiences. So we were just talking a little bit ago about gas and how that's like a new one. So we wanted to offer up some alternatives to that. As we were talking about like Pixtune and some of those other ways in which you can bring graphics in to help tell your story, I really started thinking about Canva. So Canva has templates for all of those things as well. But what I wanted to highlight for you here in this section is their social media templates. So if you were to go into Canva, which again is free because you are all educators, you get the full robust version. It's my favorite tool. I'm on there constantly making and doing. It's the best. But what you can do is if you were to do a search in the top for Instagram, you can get real, authentic looking experiences for kids. So this isn't something that we're doing a roundabout way and it sort of looks like Instagram. Like, this is the real deal. This is where people, I hate the term, but this is where like influencers are going and creating those posts that then you will see on social media later. So up here at the top, you'll notice that this example is basically like a full Instagram layout. It's totally customizable. You can put all the little pictures that you want to. You can change your username, that image, all the text. Like, everything you see makes it look super authentic for kids. And I think they will appreciate it because it's not that workaround. It's not that roundabout. Like, what they're looking at is exactly what that app looks like. So we obviously want to help keep our kids safe. We don't want them on places that, is unsafe for them or that would cause them to, break the policy rules. So like, most of your social medias are 13 and over, especially for our younger students. This is a great way that they can get those authentic experiences without actually having to be on that platform. And so ideally, what you could do is you could create those templates in such a way that like, let's say you have like a Google Slides for each of your individual classes. And, the way that I used to do it was I would say, like, Billy, you're always slide number 1. Sally, you're always slide number 2. Phil, you're always slide number 3, and so on and so on. So you could have like your own little social media platform within your class. The students can update their individual slide. And now, other kids could go on and see like, oh, this is that cool picture from, this person, or this is that new thing that they're up to. And then they could just update their slide as they felt like it. And then it could be like a little social media feed, which I think could be kind of fun. So definitely, something to check out. You'll also want to check out this common sense checklist. That's not necessarily like, do you have common sense or not? That's the website Common Sense, which if you've heard me talk about, internet safety and digital citizenship, that's the place I always direct people. They have some wonderful resources, including that social media checklist. So make sure that if you haven't already done so, definitely check that out. The last thing I wanted to talk about here for safe social media experiences is Mastodon. Mastodon is a new-ish social media network, but this is where you are where you're seeing a lot of people go in light of the recent changes at Twitter. A lot of people are making their move over to Mastodon. It isn't run by a multi-billionaire. It is open source. It's just like I said, I've noticed a lot of educators making the move. I have an account on there. It looks very, very similar to Twitter. It's a little bit more streamlined in that like you can follow certain hashtags a lot easier, I would say. And a lot of people are putting up some really good things. So if you're interested or you're looking for an alternative, then you might want to think about giving Mastodon a try. Okay. Or if you want to get off them all together, I think that's also a wonderful idea that also crossed my mind several times. So yeah, another a good place that you might want to check out. In light of time, I'm going to skip this for right now. We'll bring this back at a future meeting. So this is about future ready schools. We'll talk about that later. But we'll just jump ahead for one more area. This came up in our previous meeting as well, and I really wanted to take some time to frame that question with an answer that does it justice. So if you'll remember, at our previous meeting, the first one that we had for the year, we were talking about like the Ohio standards for technology and how impossibly frustrating they are and how unhelpful they are for most classroom teachers, especially for integration specialists, integration teachers like you all. So what I did was I kind of looked at all of my resources to see what I might be able to find. And I reached out to a friend of mine, Dan Stitzel, who he said he was hoping to come to the meeting today, but he wasn't sure that he was going to be able to make it. But he is going to join our network meeting in February. So we will look forward to seeing him there. He and Molly Clodor have been taking this session around to different technology conferences in the hopes of, like, they call it building a better bar. So it's a collaborative session. They try to get everybody involved to like pitch their ideas. If you click that link underneath their name on the right, where it says building a better bar, you'll see this presentation. And essentially what they identified is the same thing that we did in our conversation previously as well, where our technology standards do not look like the standards for other content areas. So as an example, here's what it looks like for ELA. You have that solid skill progression. It's standards based. It's that really nice roadmap. We are, skills aligned. Everything looks great. And then as you look at the technology ones, they don't have that progression. And the grade bands don't specifically, identify skills that should be mastered. They are super duper generic. And I get it, because like ultimately they're trying to pitch out to, all content areas. They don't want this to necessarily be like, something that is done in a technology class. They see this as, well, I'm going to embed technology into language arts and embed technology into social studies and so on and so on. That doesn't help us, right? We are trying to teach these skills to kids in our classes. This is not helpful. This is not, a set of technology standards that does a technology teacher any justice. So, like I said, what they did was they tried to compile all these different ideas. On slide 6 of their presentation, you'll see another jumping off point, and this is that working doc. So this is open and editable. If you're interested, you can see the grade bands down below, where they're just trying to pull all of these things together, right? So people are putting in resources and different standards and, new skills like, we think that it may be this, but obviously over the course of the last couple of years, a lot of our grades have skyrocketed their skills. They advanced very quickly in doing some things that we didn't think were quite possible. So, like I said, I really appreciated that they were bringing that in, that they're having this conversation. They're taking it around to all parts of the state for input. to really try and hone in on what is best for kids. So if you haven't seen them yet and you're interested, here's what ODE has put out so far. So this is that learning standards set. They also have their model curriculum. My opinion, not super helpful for people that are in our roles trying to teach skills to kids. So what I wanted to do was share what I have created in the past. If you look at Stark ESC, these are mine. I, in full disclosure, I haven't really reevaluated these, and I know we're not out of it yet, but in like a post-COVID world. So like I said, I know we can probably advance some of these, but this was put together by myself and by people like teachers in my previous district. If you remember, like I'm in Perry, and so, or I was in Perry, sorry. And so we put together this, and my main goal was to try and get that progression. So I wanted to be able to tell a teacher, and Caitlin, yes, it's absolutely, it's a great starting point. I wanted to tell people like, hey, in kindergarten, I need you to introduce this, because in first grade, they're going to start developing that. In second grade, they're going to further develop, so that in third grade, you know, we can reinforce this. And by fourth grade, they are proficient in this skill. So that was really important to me because I didn't feel like we had that at that time. So essentially what we did was we went through and identified some different categories. You can see like just understanding computer technology hardware and operating systems and web browsing and so on, so that a person could see the progression from kindergarten all the way to when they left us. You'll notice that these are really heavy in like the K-8 realm, because that's where that district had like technology courses. So we knew that they had devoted technology time. We know that, you know, we had to get them before they left 8th grade, because when they got to 9th grade, we didn't have that devoted technology class. We knew that, you know, it would be really difficult to try and get to, you know, those high school grades and attempt to, you know, embed them into other places. So, so that's where we were. It made sense at the time to us, but we never got it across the official finish line because of COVID. So, so great starting point for you. The other thing I wanted to include, is this is where like my mind started going, because, you know, at the time, you know, the Ohio State standards were like originally developed in like 2017, and that's when they pushed those out. I did not find them to be super helpful. So in 2019, I basically wanted these like I can statements. So this is something that a teacher could put up on their board. You know, the kids see it. By the end of our class time today, I want you to be able to, or I can recognize and use letters, numbers, and the backspace keys on my keyboard. That's something that is measurable. It's something that students can see. You know, it's that constant visual that's up there for them. And then what I did, again, this was me being upset at the ODE standards, was, well, I'm going to go to a national, you know, group. And so I pulled in ISTE's standards. So you'll notice this sheet has over here on the side, these are those ISTE standards for students. So there are multiple opportunities. Maybe it fits in a couple different. That's why I have this other drop-down menu as well. So as you make your way through, like I said, this goes up until 8th very specifically. And then that high school range, this is, you know, kind of where we were starting to think, but you can obviously see this was left as a work in progress for that area. So here's the official statement that we were trying to follow. And then I broke it up into these I can statements to attempt to meet those statements. And again, I pulled those from that skill-based, you know, thing that we just showed there a moment ago. So that's where these official statements came from. And then, like I said, in order to address these official statements, we want these I can statements. So that way, these are things that teachers can post, students can see, can read, can recite, and then try to address. So, I know I didn't have time to do that in our last meeting, and I wanted to make sure to do that justice. Now, I'm by no means saying that mine is good or is the end all be all. It's a great place to start. I wanted to offer up a couple other things that I found or that we were basing ours on at the time. The first of which is here from Chino Hills, same premise. They have their skills chart put out. This is just a PDF that you can access here within the slides. And they laid theirs out in a very similar way. So here's what we want for kindergarten. Here's what we want for first grade. Second grade, you'll notice that these are also ongoing over here, these topics over on the far left. And how they may address them is over here on the far right. That made a lot of sense to me. A friend of mine up in the Toledo area, John, he is working on something very similar. This looks and feels very similar to the one that I showed you from me a moment ago. But these are those skills, how might we address those skills, what products in that C column, and then they use M as mastery. So how do we, get to that mastery level for our kids? There's one other one there too. This was developed by Eric, again, pre-pandemic. But this was in the Strasburg School District. They were doing very similar things, trying to identify, trying to be skill-based. And I just put all of those into a folder for you so that you can see how they were attempting to address it at each grade level as well. So lots to sink your teeth into, especially as we consider how we can best help our kids, right? How we can, use skills to actually address some of those larger, my word, unhelpful technology standards that ODE has put forth. So yeah, any thoughts on that? Do you guys find this to be helpful? Do you find this to be too much, too cumbersome? Christina, this isn't too much for your first year, is it? We'll drop over to Caitlin because she's ready to go. Then we'll come back to you, Christina. Go ahead, Caitlin.
I was just going to say, I think it really helps because I think one of the things I struggle with is just organizing my thinking. So the fact that even if it's too much, what I could go back and do is like kind of clarify or edit stuff out if I really needed to just focus on the things that, but like it's easier to sift through stuff that's already there than to make a blank page full. So you're right, this is a lot, but I think that's the other end of the spectrum. This is more helpful than the other end of the spectrum where we were starting from.
Yes, sure. Totally. And I'm glad that you said that. My resource on here, pretty much everything else that you see, I'm pretty sure is available to make your copy. Do not start from scratch. This is ready to go for you. Make your copy.
Somebody with a base, you put it in a way that it's organized with the intent to communicate.
Mm-hmm.
And that's already very clear. And that helps because sometimes I'll get caught in my own little whirlpool of the only person who understands what I'm talking about is me. So.
Yes. And so you're not only pitching to kids, but you're pitching to other teachers. So these are standards that, your language arts, your science, your social studies, your specials, they could all have these up on the board. And students can read them and they're totally, workable no matter what grade they may be. It's identifying what they need to be able to do just like they would with every other content standard. So yes, make your copies, change all the names to your district, customize it to be specific to your kids. You obviously know their skills better than anyone else would. And it's a great place to start.
I think this is very similar to like the standards checklist I was talking about before. And I mean, now that the biggest thing is I've been looking for something. Like I'm used to working with standards I was a 5th grade math teacher for 8 years. And so I'm used to working with standards. So, but now moving into technology, there was nothing, so I'm just trying to find something. So this is great. This is perfect. Thank you.
Good. I'm saying this is like only because I see the flaw in what has actually been put out there at the state level. Like this is a particular passion project area of mine. So please, by all means, reach out. I would love to come to you and like sit and discuss these and, you know, think about your kids and, you know, customize this with you. So let me know. I will come to you. You let me know when that time is best, and we can have a chat about this and anything else that that you want to do. So that invitation is to anyone in this call and anyone who may be watching after the fact. Let me know. Like I said, that's a passion area of mine, and getting into the district is always super fun for me. So please reach out. All right, we are gonna put a bow on this meeting. We are done. You can see our December meeting has that little X through it. Our next meeting is Wednesday, February the 8th. Like I said, we'll have a couple things leading into that. I know OETC is happening later on in February. January is always a really bizarre month. February seems to be like parent-teacher conferences come around a little bit for many districts in February. So I thought that'd be a good time. Then we can at least have some things for you to think about if you find yourself with some extra windows, you know, during those conference times here for February. As always, this has been a delight. This has been the best work thing I've done in a long time. Your conversations it's exactly what I need to keep myself going, and hopefully you find them helpful as well. It is filling your own bucket as well. So thank you so much for being a part of this meeting, and for sharing and just being so open, you know, to share and to ask your questions and everything. This is wonderful. Your homework for February is to bring a friend. So I know that's easier said than done. We are after school hours. You are here because you're wonderful people who want to learn something new, who, you know, you found the time in your schedule to work this out. And I appreciate that. And I know that that's not necessarily everyone in your building or in your district has that same luxury. Totally get that. But if you do have a friend who might be interested in this or might be interested in the conversations that are happening, please invite them, let them know that this is for everybody, and that we would really love to see them. Okay. Other than that, I will be the last person out of the room. So if you have questions more specific that you want to ask, stay on and let me know. Otherwise, I hope you have a wonderful holiday season. It was so lovely to see all of you, and enjoy yourself in these last few weeks as your kids, I'm sure, are getting very antsy for the holiday. So have fun, enjoy your break, and I will see you all in February.